Hello P6. For our maths activities today, we are going to begin with our warm-up activity. And for today's warm-up activity, we are going to revise some long multiplication questions. Now, we looked a lot at long multiplication before Christmas, and last Friday's maths lesson was all revision of long multiplication. So you have been given 4 questions to go and have a go at, so you can download today's warm-up challenge. If you have forgotten how to do long multiplication or you weren't able to do last Friday's lesson, then I've given you the links to go back and look again at last Friday's lesson and go and watch last Friday's video, and that will really help you to revise how to set out a long multiplication sum. It's really important that we're all able to do that. There's also a copy of our multiplication tables fact sheet available for you to download, so if you're still not completely sure about your multiplication tables, then you can download that as well to help you. Now, for today, our main activity, for today we're going to go back and we're going to look one more time at telling the time. So today we're going to start thinking about learning to use the 12-hour and 24-hour clock as we tell the time. Now, last week we did some revision of AM and PM, but I wonder, what units do we use to measure time? How many can you think of? So have a little think. What do we use to measure time? Well, there are lots of things that we use to measure time. Sometimes we might use an hour, maybe a year. We might use weeks, centuries, fortnight, a second, a decade, a month, a day. If I take these units of time, I wonder, could we put them in order? Look at these words. Which one of these is the smallest? Which is the smallest unit of time? Take a moment. Can you rank these from smallest to longest? Well, as most of us will know, the shortest one of these is the second. And then if we have 60 seconds, that gives us 1 minute. How many minutes does it take to make an hour? Yeah, that's another 60 minutes, isn't it? How many hours in one day? 24 hours, isn't it? If we go from a day to a week, we know that there are 7 days in 1 week. A way of saying 2 weeks, a way of saying 30 days or 31 days or 28 days or 29 days could be a month. We could have a year, which is 365 days or 366 days in a leap year. We could have a decade. Do you know what a decade is? 10 years, isn't it? A group of 10 years is a decade. And then a century. What's a century? Yeah, it's 100 years, isn't it? So we've got some time words, units of measurement that we use when we're telling the time. Now, what we have been already doing is we've been thinking a little bit about our analog and our digital times and converting them from one to the other. So I wonder if you could help me out with this one. If the time is 2:30, how would I write that as a digital time? Okay, well, we'll use a clock to help us. So if the time is 2:30, well, there's 2 o'clock, isn't it? I know it's 2 o'clock because the hour hand is pointing at the 12, the minute hand is pointing at the 12 and the hour hand is pointing at the 2. So there's 2 o'clock. To make it into 2:30, 2:30, the minute hand has to be pointing right down at the 6. Now, what would that be in digital time? Well, we start off with the shorthand. The hour hand has gone past the 2, so it's going to be 2. And then how many minutes when I get round to the 6? 30. So if the time is 2:30, we would say that the time is 2:30. What about the next one? 8:15. Okay, well, let's change this clock into 8:15. There's 7 o'clock. So let's make it 8 o'clock. What does 8:15 look like? Well, 8:15, I need to bring it round to the 3. There's 8:15. Now, what would that be in digital time? Start with the hour hand. The shorthand, the last number it has gone past is the 8, so it's 8. And how many minutes from o'clock? 5, 10, 15. So 8:15 is going to become 8:15. The problem is that if somebody told you the time 8:15, are they talking about 8:15 in the morning or are they talking about 8:15 in the evening? So we thought last week about how we show the difference between our morning and our evening times, and we can do that using 12-hour clock. So if it's 8:15 in the morning, we would put AM after our 8:15. Remember, AM is used when we're talking about the first 12 hours of the day, from midnight round to midday. If the time was 1:20 in the afternoon, right, well, let's think about this clock. So let's change it. The minute's 2:30. Let's change it back to 1:20. So first of all, I'm going to put it back to, there's 1 o'clock, 1:20. So there's 1:20. Now, what would that be in digital time? It would be our hand first, 1:20. If it's in the afternoon, it's after midday. So if it's 1:20 in the afternoon, that's going to be 1:20 p.m. Once we get after midday, we're into p.m. times. What about the next one? 9:45 at night. Okay, well, here's a clock showing me 11 o'clock. So let's put it back to 10 o'clock. So there's 10 o'clock, 9:45. So go back from 10 o'clock. There's 9:45. Now, how would I say that time in digital time? Well, the hour hands, the last number it's going past is the 9. So it's going to be 9:45. And if it's at night, it's before midnight. So that's going to be a PM time, isn't it? 9:45 p.m. 6:05 in the morning. Okay, right. Well, let's take this clock and make 6:05 in the morning. So first of all, let's take it back to 6 o'clock. So if that was 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:05, what would that be in digital time? Start with the hour. 6:05. It's in the morning. So AM or PM? Yep, that's going to be 6:05 AM. Now, can we go the other way? What if the clock says 11:15? Well, the hour is 11. So I need to move my hour hand round so it's at the 11. So there's 11, 15 minutes after it. So I could say 11:15 AM. Is that 11:15 in the morning or 11:15 at night? It's going to be 11:15 in the morning. What about this one? 3:10 p.m. Well, let's take this clock and let's make it 3 o'clock. So make 3 o'clock. There's 3 o'clock. 3:10. Add on 10 more minutes. So it's 3:10 p.m. Is that 3:10 in the afternoon or 3:10 in the middle of the night? That's going to be 3:10 in the afternoon, isn't it? 6:25 p.m. Right, so let's go for 6 o'clock. Let's go for 6:25, 6:25. So there's 6:25. So 6:25 p.m. It's in the evening, isn't it? Now, let's fast forward on through a little few of these. There we go. So when we use the 12-hour clock, which is what we've just been doing, we split the day up into 2 groups of 12. So we have 12 hours that take us from midnight around to midday, and then another group of 12 hours that take us round from midday back round to midnight. But what we are going to be starting to think about today, instead of just using AM and PM, what we're going to start looking at today is the 24-hour clock. Now, you would have done a little bit of this in P5 as well. So the 24-hour clock splits the day into 24 hours. And we know that our day starts at midnight. That's when we start telling the time from. And if we start telling the time from midnight, it's like using a stopwatch. Time starts at midnight, and after midnight, we're counting how many hours and how many minutes it is after midnight. So if the time was 5 past midnight, so if I took my clock and I made the time midnight, and then I went to 5 past midnight, 5 past midnight, 5 past 12 would be written as 0005. It's 00 because no hours have passed since midnight. I haven't got any full hours around my clock, but I've gone 5 minutes. Now, what's really important when we do 24-hour clock is that we've got 2 numbers for the hours, 2 numbers for the minutes, and we put 2 dots in between them. If it was 1 o'clock in the morning, so there was midnight, if I went round 1 hour to 1 o'clock in the morning, then I would write 1 o'clock in the morning as 0100. So it's 1 full hour after midnight, but no more minutes. So there was midnight. I've gone 1 full hour round. So I've added on 1 hour, but no extra minutes. If it was 5 past 1 in the middle of the night, in the early morning, then it would look like that, and that would be 0105, 1 hour and 5 minutes after midnight. Now, to tell the time using 24-hour clock, we can look at our AM and PM times, our 12-hour clock, and we can change them into 24-hour clock times. And to do that, we start, as we've already said, with 0000, which is midnight. And then as the hours start to change, when I add on 1 hour in 12-hour clock, my 24-hour clock becomes 0100, 2 o'clock becomes 02, 3 o'clock in the morning becomes 03, 4, 04, and so on. Can you see that the 12-hour clock times, they've all got AM? 24-hour clock, we don't use AM or PM. We don't put that after the answer. So 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. By 10 o'clock in the morning, my 10 a.m. becomes 10:00. My 11 a.m., 11:00. And we know that when we hit the PM times, we're at noon or midday. So 12 o'clock in the middle of the day becomes 12 p.m. And in 24-hour clock, that stays as 12:00. But then things start to change. Once I get into the afternoon times, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and so on, instead of going back to 1, I keep adding on 1. So 1 o'clock in the afternoon is 13 hours after midnight. 2 o'clock in the afternoon is 14 hours after midnight. By the time I get to 6 o'clock in the evening, we're 18 hours after midnight. By 9 o'clock at night, we're 21 hours after midnight. By 11 o'clock at night, we're 23 hours after midnight. With my PM times from 1 p.m. on, I add 12 hours on to my hour to get the 24-hour clock time. And what's really important that when we are telling 24-hour clock, as we've already said, we have to use 4 digits. So there's 2 digits for the hour and 2 digits for the minute. So I might write down 0810, which would be 10 past 8 in the morning. If it was 23:25, well, 23 is 11 o'clock at night, so it's going to become 11:25, stays the same, and that's going to be PM. So I wonder if we could write these times as 24-hour clock times. Well, if it was 2:30 in the afternoon, well, if I take my clock and let's make 2:30 in the afternoon. So there's 2:30. If it's in the afternoon, how many hours have passed since midnight? Well, I'm going to use my cheat sheet here. So you can download one of these as well. So if it's 2:30 in the afternoon, well, 2:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon is 14:00. And if it's 2:30, then I'm 30 minutes after it. So 2:30, the 2 is going to become 14. 2:30, add on your 30 minutes. So that time is going to become 14:30. What about this one? 7:05 in the morning. So let's make this clock into 7:05. So there's 7 o'clock, 7:05 in the morning. Now 7 in the morning, 7 a.m. is going to become 07:00. And if it's 5 past, keep the 07, add on the 5 minutes, it's going to become 07:05. 7:05 in the morning will be 07:05. Last one for now. What if the time is 9 o'clock in the evening? So there's 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock in the evening. Well, evening is in the second half of the day. So that's my PM time. So if it's 9 o'clock in the evening, that's going to become 21. And because it's o'clock, the 00 stays the same. So 9 o'clock in the evening will be 21:00. Now, P6, for your activities today, what I would like you to have a go at today is, well, the first thing I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go and download this PowerPoint, okay? It's available on our home learning page. So if you go back to our home learning page, you will be able to download this 24-hour clock PowerPoint and use it to help you. You can also download this page, which will really help you out as well. Once you have done that, the next thing I would like you to do is go to Education City. And in Education City, I'd like you to use the Time Bandits Learn screen. And you can have a go at the activity as well, but I didn't mean to do that. What I want you to concentrate on is the Time Bandit activity and see if you can use it to help you out. The Time Learn screen also you will find really useful to help you out as well. Then P6, I want you to go and download your written activity for today. Now there are 3 different levels for you to choose from. This is the middle one. And in this middle level, what I want you to do is start practicing converting these 12-hour and 24-hour clock times. Use what you've got. So use this sheet to help you. Use the time clock on Education City to help you. Try and convert these times from 12-hour clock into 24-hour clock. And then you've got a few extra questions. It might be to do with a TV timetable or a bus timetable. There are a few other questions there. Do your best. Being able to tell the time, P6, is something that is incredibly important. Once you've had a go at all of that, you've got a reasoning activity, which is all to do with adding today, and it's all to do with some missing digits. And if you've still got any time, why don't you go back to Prodigy and play a little bit more of Prodigy. Fantastic to see how many of you have logged in over the last couple of days. So keep that up. That's really good work. If you haven't started Prodigy yet, why don't you have a go today? Some of you are telling us you're having problems getting into Prodigy. Why don't you try using a different browser? So for example, if you're using Internet Explorer and it's not working, try Google Chrome instead. Lots to think about today from us, P6. Really concentrate, practice telling the time. It's such an important life skill. Good luck.